Hi, welcome to my channel, Sewing with Maryrose. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a small tote with just 1 yard of fabric. So let's get started. Here is my fabric. It's a little heavier weight. It's like a type of fabric meant for upholstery. So I wanted it to be a little more heavy duty. And what we're going to do is cut this 36 by 19. 1 hour to complete. I'm going to use my rotary tool. You always want to make sure you're cutting away from yourself. So I'm getting started here. We're going to cut these. These are going to be 3.5 inches wide, and I'm going to cut off my selvage here. Okay, now I'm going to turn this around just to make sure that this is nice and straight. We have a little extra right here. I'm just going to trim that off. And I'm going to clip that. Okay, a 1/2 inch seam all the way around. Now I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam. Now both of my straps are pressed. Now we're going to stitch this all the way around. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull these edges apart here, like that. And then I'm just going to sew all the way around, and I am going to iron this. Now I'm going to sew these straps on the edges to make it look nice and reinforced. I'm just going to sew it on either side. You don't have to sew the bottom. And so this is 3 inches away from the edge here. This is where I'm going to start clipping my strap. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It is going to be 3 inches away from the edge. And I'm just going to clip that on. And we're going to do that for the back of it as well. And 3 inches away on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to bring this over to my machine and I'm going to stitch these handles in place. And you're just going to go around and do all 4 of them. Now the straps are on. Now I've turned my outer piece with the handles inside out. My lining is going to be flipped the other way. So what you want are the right sides together, I'm going to place my lining inside. So here is the outside with the handles attached. Now what you're going to do is make sure the handles are facing inside towards the bag, and then you're going to get your lining piece, and it is the right side, pretty side out. You're going to stuff this inside with the pretty sides together because we will be flipping this inside out in a little bit. So let's get it inside and have it all evened out. So you want to match these little squares up, and you want to match up your side seams. And you could put a little clip here to make sure that everything's lined up. Now you want to make sure that it's lined up on the other side. So you'll get these two pieces and you will line these up and put a little clip on them. So you're just going to turn your bag around and do the same thing, making sure that the handles are facing downward. And you want to line these pieces all together. I'm lining this side seam up. Okay. And I'm just folding this up. When we sew around this, you want to make sure that you have one of these sides open between the handles so we could turn the bag the right way. 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to backstitch to make sure that these handles really stay in place. Now I'm turning this right side out. And we still have this little spot here that we're going to fix a little bit later. So I'm just going to put those together like so. And I'm going to clip this in. These little extra pieces of thread, I'm just going to shove on down in there. And I'm gonna clip them. There, that looks cute. Okay, now on to this part. So the top of your bag has this seam. You want to follow it all the way down, and you want to match up the seam for the inner lining and clip them together. You'll do the same thing on the other side. That goes there, and this. Now I am going to edge stitch the top of this bag all the way around, closing this off. I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch and I'm going to make it nice and flat and even. Now we're going to close the inside of the bag. So what you'll do is sew this. I'm giving myself a 1/2 inch seam allowance. After we're finished with this side, then we are going to do the other side. So there's that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to match these edges up. And we're going to do a little seam right like that. Just gonna turn it inside, and we're going to sew those together just like that, and that will be the bottom of the bag. To do a little 1/8 inch seam here. And I am backstitching. And I'm going to measure this and make sure that that is 3 inches. So that's right where I want it to stop. Very end here. So I'm going to bring this back to the sewing machine and stitch that out, and then it will be done. So here is the edge. Here's the tote all completed. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more with Sewing with Maryrose, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell.